right, a very good morning, bright Monday morning right here, Morning Cafe, May the 19th, 2025, 139 days into the year, about 260-something days left before the end of the year.
To Christmas?
By the way, we'll start. Ngoja June ifike hivi. Karibu sana, this is the Morning Cafe. My name is Freddie.
My name is Ann Odida, tukupashe.
Let's take a look at the dailies this morning and the big one here. I think this is my favorite. Captured Justice. That's the front page of the Standard.
Taifa leo, Karua afurushwa Tanzania.
Hao ndo wamesema vizuri. People Daily wanasema Suluhu goes rogue. Najua ni kama People Daily siku hizi wanajaribu kuepo wale wengine. 3 word headlines. Angalia mahali kuna 3 word headlines.
Yeah.
Suluhu goes rogue.
Gachagua faces arrest. Daily Nation.
A nice one. Treasury, this is a long one. Treasury to avoid costly loans opt for pension cash. That's a star. Lakini wamezoea hizo ndefu.
And Business Daily, Trump's aid cuts hit Nairobi, up market home landlord.
We'll be back to tell you more about these headlines and what they're talking about. For State of the Nation, in ile siku kubwa, heavy panel here. Kipruto Arap Kirwa, who served as Agriculture Minister in the Kibaki One administration, also served as MP of Cherangani. Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo and Samuel Pogisio, who served as Minister for ICT in the Kibaki II administration and also as a majority leader in the Senate's 12th Parliament. That's coming up your way at 6:30 this morning.
Later, we'll be talking to Silas Akiru, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, on access to justice for women in customary marriages.
Kwani ni kama hawana justice?
Hawana, wanateswa sana. The moment bwana amekufa unabaki pale peke yako. Apparently hata hawezi inherit the land that you bought with your money.
It's about property.
It's about property.
That they bought with their own money.
Yes.
We cross the border into Uganda and take a look at the regional headlines. So this is a Daily Monitor. It talks about high hopes as Uganda Airlines flies to London. Hii ni kitu mpya sana kwao, si tumezoea lakini jirani bado. Inaugural direct flight, the 9 hours of direct flight between Entebbe and London Gatwick will now save travelers several hours. Previously, travelers spent 12 to 21 hours connecting flights across destinations in Kenya, Ethiopia, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates. Sasa ndege za Uganda and Ugandan Airlines that fly straight from Entebbe to Gatwick Airport. Yeah. Sai jirani ashikiki ndege ilipaa. Pale chini, 13 die in Kapchorwa crash after marriage ceremony. That's a very sad story on page 2 of the Daily Monitor in Uganda. Pope Leo vows not to be autocrat, calls for unity. Mambo ya Vatican, still on the front pages in Uganda. Kenya ni kama tulimove on your story. Siashaba, white smoke ilipatikana, tuzungumzie mambo ingine. That's a Daily Monitor.
Tukisalia kule Uganda, the new vision, panic as new succession law starts to bite, and fate of administrators to be determined by beneficiaries and court, and that story is on page 3. That story on Ugandan Airlines, ambayo may land in London. We see the leaders there, even as they celebrate that.
They're very happy.
They're very, very happy.
Hiyo inaitwa furaha ilioje.
Lakini unajua hiyo kiburi inafanya tunafurushwa pia Tanzania.
Sisi tushafly hata tukifurushwa, what will they change? What can they reverse?
Yeah, okay. Jirani na kiburi.
Kiburi tunayo. Kiburi tunayo hatuna.
NRM primaries, roundup of how members voted countrywide on page the inside of this newspaper. America approves Uganda's diabetes drug. That story is on page 8. And Pride Microfinance, now a bank. Kule juu Museveni commissions Toro Industrial Hub.
Kama kawaida kwa gazeti ya Uganda lazima kukuwe na Museveni amesalamia mtu na tujui nini anafanya
na mask.
Na amevaa mask na ile kofia na shati ya white.
Yes.
Lazima tu kwa front page moja. Ameenda kukagua shamba ya vitunguu, vitu kama hivyo. Kuna siku alikuwa anakata ndizi. Alipewa panga akate ndizi.
Front page. Kama sisi tuweke rais akiwa kwa kufahamu.
Amekata ndizi. Tutafurushwa. Anyway, let's take a look at the overall regional discussions. And that story about Uganda Airlines making it to Gatwick Airport in London features on the front page of the East African. Uganda Airlines taxes for Gatwick. Iko pale chini. Na ni kama wamenunua ndege mpya. Zinaitwa, wamekuwa na hizi Embraer mingi sana. Kama kuna ndege inaweza fly bila kuongezwa mafuta. Nauliza, unajua
wachana na jirani sasa.
Need a bigger plane. Sasa wakitoka hapo wanaland Ethiopia waongeze mafuta, watoke hapo waende Egypt waongeze mafuta, wakiingia tu hivyo wakicross tu wako kwa ocean hivi kidogo wasimame tena Spain ndio waende warudi London.
Hii ni one way.
One way. Unajua ndege lazima kuwa kubwa ndio ibebe mafuta mengi. But the main story on the front page of the East African, horror of East African young women making drones for Russia war. This is something we never thought about. A report by international crimes watchdog Gaitalk paints a picture of trafficked youth tricked into working with hazardous material in an industrial plant. Pages 4 and 5. This should be a special report. East African women, not even young people, men, East African women. Wanaenda Russia, wanaunda drone for war. Wangekuwa hapa, so wangekuwa wanafanya mambo mengi sana.
Oh, wow.
Another story here, South Sudan conflict makes healthcare system unhealthy. Na South Sudan, there were some funny reports over the weekend, lakini namba tulieni. Ikifika ni mambo ya health ya mtu, wacheni mambo mingi kuongea. Ati mara ametokelezea, mara sijua, ngojeni. Siku ikifika,
Kierere.
That's the East Africa. Twende kule Tanzania tusikieni kama walituambia jirani hawataki mambo yetu.
The Citizen, how Janabi won voters' support to secure top WHO Africa post. Finally, kuna chairperson wa WHO Africa, Professor Janabi's recent unveiling of a bold 7-pillar plan for Africa's health system has culminated in his election as the new WHO Africa Director by the WHO Regional Committee for Africa in Geneva yesterday. That story is on page 2. His rivals are also here. Yes, ukitaka kujua zaidi wako hapo. Lakini this is a win for Janabi. You know, I knew he was going to clinch it.
When you know him, because the rest come from where? It's Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, and
Guinea. Yes.
So at least we have an East African as head of the WHO Africa.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Professor Janabi.
Ali campaign vizuri. Okay, some of those 7 pillars, they were worth winning. Other stories here. Zito Kabwe sued over IPTL comments. Experts warn as Tanzania sees huge increase in UTI cases. Jirani wako na UTI.
UTI imepata, would you imagine reading about UTI on the front page of a Kenyan paper?
Nashangaa sana. Wanasema latest statistics underscores the growing burden of UTI.
UTI imekuwa shida kubwa sana kule Tanzania. Jirani ana shida mingi.
Across the country's healthcare facilities prompting doctors to call for early diagnosis and improved personal hygiene.
Yeah. As other people are flying to London, our UTI inawasumbua.
Maajabu. Cashing out processors call for incentives to boost value addition. That story is on page 2. And CRDB Bank shareholders approved record 170 billion shillings dividend payout. And that's the Citizen.
Tukisalia kule Bongo, gazeti la Mwananchi, habari kuu pale ni chanzo maafa mgodini. Wachimbaji 20 wafukiwa na kifusi mgodini, 6 wafariki, 11 waokolewa, hofu ya tanda, wengine kubaki chini ya kifusi, kazi ya uokoaji yasitishwa. So there's a mine that collapsed and buried people underneath. 20 of them, 6 have been confirmed dead, 11 were saved, and there's still fears that there could be more still buried under the rubble. Janga la bandari bubu linavyong'ata kupuliza ni ripoti maalum, a special report. Idadi ya bandari bubu zilizopo nchini huku 329 zikiwa ziwa Victoria, 240 ziko kwenye mwambao wa bahari ya Hindi na 108 zipo ziwa Tanganyika. You know, Tanzania on 3 sides, apart from the border with Kenya, on 3 sides, they actually have serious water bodies. Lake Victoria on the northern part, Lake Tanganyika, which they share with Malawi, and then, naitwaje nyingine? Indian Ocean. Na zote zina bandari. So there's so many ports all over. In Kenya, we're still yet to build a port even at Lake Victoria, pale Kisumu.
Ni kiburi tu tumejaa nayo.
Kiburi, na tunasema tuna fly to London. Kuna jamaa anaongea vibaya, hiyo sitarudia. Kesi ya Habinda Seth, Zito Kabwe, nitausema ukweli wote kotini. Ndoa ya G55 Chauma, mambo safi bado sherehe. Na unajua kule siasa za upinzani. G55 ni ile splinter ilitoka kwa Chadema. Chadema, Tundu Lissu yuko korokoroni.
Yeah.
Uchaguzi miezi 3-4 ndio tunangojea Tanzania. Mambo yameumana huko, Chauma yanaleta shida. Alafu hiyo hadithi ya Profesa Janabi alivyoshinda kwa kishindo, the new Africa WHO director. Pale juu biashara ya jeneza jirani na hospitali inavyowapa kihoro wagonjwa. Unajua what they do? Unaenda hospitali, lakini pale kwa gate kuna jamaa amefungua biashara. Anatengeneza jeneza kwa gate ya hospitali.
Oh, wow.
Ukipeleka hospitali hivi unapita unaona jeneza. I might leave this hospital walking or in a box. But surely wanasema sasa inawapa kihoro. It's actually depressing the patients. Ideally you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Not at the gate of the hospital.
Yeah. Wajua kuna wengine niliona ati sometimes watu wanapelekwa kule mochari wakiwa alive bado. I saw morticians saying that story on TikTok, of course. So you wonder if they kill them once they go there.
Ukishaingia kule nani hautoki. Na hii sasa CRDB kugawana gawio la bilioni shilingi 170. Magazeti ya kanda unaitwa ni kanda ya Afrika Mashariki. So these are just some of the dailies in the region and locally. We've touched on some of the headlines. We'll be back to take a look at the local dailies in depth in a short while. This ones. For now, let's take a look at hali ya anga hapa nchini. And you can see the entire East African region is devoid of a lot of cloud cover. Most of the cloud cover is actually in DRC and areas around Central African Republic and South Sudan. Ukiendelea kuenda upande ule wa Afrika ya Magharibi. Lakini when you come back to East Africa, not much cloud cover. Areas around Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, even Tanzania, not much cloud cover. Even the Indian Ocean coastline that we have, there's not much cloud cover. Meaning that mvua ni kama imetuhepa kidogo. So tuangazie tuone kama Mombasa. Tuanzie Mombasa. Wanasema kule, it's a bit warm, 25 degrees Celsius as we speak. Partly cloudy, but highs of 28 degrees, which is fair for Mombasa. This is comfortable weather in Mombasa. It looks like there's a bit of precipitation, but not much. 3.0 millimeters. Mombasa, hiyo ni kushua hata huwezi isikia. Unaweza vaa vest. Garissa?
It's 24 degrees as we speak. Feels like 26. Clear through the day. Highs of 33 degrees in Garissa today, and precipitation here is 0 millimeters.
Let's move to the Mount Kenya region and you take a look at Kirinyaga, 19 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, at least promises to have some rainfall later in the day. Highs of 27 degrees, and as far as precipitation is concerned, 5.8 millimeters. At least areas around Mount Kenya could receive some rainfall. Homa Bay, next to Lake Victoria.
21 degrees in Homa Bay, feels like 24. Promises to be a very cloudy day today. Highs of 27 degrees, and precipitation in Homa Bay is 1.8 millimeters. Showers of blessings. All
right. Finally, Nairobi, 16 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy throughout the day. Promises to get rain in the afternoon, starting at 2 p.m. there. Highs of 23 degrees, which is a bit chilly for Nairobi. And as far as precipitation is concerned, 4.1 millimeters of rain, which is also high. So yes, some rainfall in Nairobi today, but later in the day. And as far as traffic is concerned, this morning, it's Monday morning after that weekend, watu wanarudi kazini.
Tunajikokota.
Tunajikokota. Unajua weekend ikiisha watu wanaamka sasa lazima niende kazi leo kweli.
Mimi ni hao watu.
You look like it. Thika Road, you can already see a problem there at the Utalii Drifts. Usually shida iko tu hapa Pangani interchange, but you can see this one is starting much earlier. Immediately after KCA University, once you dip at Survey, Utalii Drift next to Mathare Mental Hospital, you can already see. If you're coming from Thika Road, it's already building up there. Further up Thika Road, nothing much. Areas around Kasarani, Allsops, ziko sawa, lakini hapa kuna delay. Kiambu Road, they'll suffer the same fate as people coming from Thika Road because of this delay here, meaning that you'll spend longer hours at that interchange. Jogoo Road, kawaida ile pale Makadara, Mbotela, a long stretch of yellow, nothing out of the ordinary there. Kangundo Road, it's getting busy around Umoja One Market, mostly as you head towards Outer Ring Road. Ile kwenda upande ile ingine, it's not as bad. And Outer Ring Road itself, further Tasia Pipeline heading towards Donholm, it's building up slowly. Eastern Bypass heading towards Southfield is not bad. Mombasa Road all the way into town is looking good, but pale ukifika karibu Panari, ile barabara ya chini unaona, karibu na exit 6, there's a lot of traffic there. Unajua sometimes this map just sees the expressway na haina traffic. Kule chini you might actually find traffic. Once you get to Capital Center, also trouble there as people get off the expressway, but after that it's smooth all the way into town. All the other roads on the other side of town. This is nakonga bundled together. Ngong Road, Southern Bypass, Langata Road, Mbagathi Way ni kama watu wajamka bado. Hata Wayaki Way, all the way from Kabete into town. Smooth all the way. Monday traffic this morning. That's the traffic situation.
All right, let's take a look at the quote of the day. True learning extends far beyond the classroom walls. Structured schooling never limited me from exploring life's broader, deeper lessons through real experiences and critical thinking.
Right, magazeti ya Kenya mostly leo ziko na 3-word headlines. Kwa Standard, Nation, na tunaanza na hii ni 2-word headlines. Captured justice. That's a big headline on the front page of the Standard this morning. So they say these are double standards. Legal experts and political analysts are raising concerns about a growing trend in the justice system, where individuals who break the law but sing the regime's praises appear to have a smooth run in the corridors of justice. Hii ni kama kawaida. Hii si kitu mpya sana. Tumeiona over and over. In contrast, President William Ruto's critics are treated more harshly. Observers say the legal system is being weaponized against dissenters. And we have one of the renowned lawyers, Gitobu Imanyara, says, state agencies have been weaponized to protect interests which appear to be purely commercial. Ruto is relying on this weaponization along with aging political allies to prevent his government from collapsing. So the president has already captured the second arm of government, which is the legislature. Now, judiciary coming under serious scrutiny. If at all he has captured justice, then what does this mean for Kenya? Especially as we head towards elections. Tayari ashaambiwa IEBC, hiyo ni kama umejiundia we mwenyewe. Ni ukweli. Allies of President Ruto who faced charges under the previous regime have seen those charges dropped. Mimi nimuuliza swali, sijasema. Niuliza ni ukweli.
All right.
Have seen those charges dropped, raising questions about selective justice. And this is constitutional lawyer Bobby Mkangi saying that. Bobby Mkangi was part of the constitution-making process. Akisema kitu mnasikiza. Pale juu on the top strip, Lisu trial, Karua denied entry into Dar es Salaam. And I think that's probably the biggest talking point coming out of this weekend. Aliambiwa, hivyo tu ule umekuja, rudi hivyo hivyo huko kwenu. Huku tuko na shida mingi kama UTI. Survivors fight to heal from abuse. That's on international scene. And in sports, for boxing coach, there's life after crime. On the back page, Kenya Police open 6-point lead in title race. Kenya Police wanakani kama watachukua hii ligi ya humu nchini. Gor Mahia wamejaribu imekataa. Gor Mahia na Man U ni hivi, wanajaribu kila kitu, hakuna kitu, wanaambulia patupu. Hata namba pili ni Tusker. So Gor Mahia ni kama mambo yao.
Ndio alisema Tusker walikuwa wamelewa kwa field.
Ni kweli Man U unajua ni wanaitwa relegation threatened. That's the Standard this morning.
Turn to the Star. Treasury to avoid costly loans opt for pension cash. Anasema state to eye banks and insurance companies to finance projects. This series on page 4, tuangalie ndani kidogo tujue wanasema vipi. Wanasema Kenyans may soon be spared the cost of repaying expensive external loans should the government adopt a raft of new proposals to mobilize local funds for development projects. And pension firms, banks and insurance companies will be the new financiers of government projects under the proposed framework. And this is among the initiatives the state is considering to make it easier to secure financing for its mega projects. And Chris Kipto is quoted here, anasema, we are at a turning point. Our infrastructure ambitions must now align with fiscal prudence and homegrown solutions.
And yesterday, one of the former chair of the budget committee, Kiharu MP, Ndindi Nyoro, talked about this while they called securitization, where now government is borrowing directly now from Kenyans through bonds and treasury bills. Na sema hiyo kitu, it does not even require parliamentary approval. Government is just borrowing. Now Kenya wananunua hizo vitu, it's just government will pay, but at what cost? Yeah.
Siku hizi anamoya tu mtama.
Well, ukweli usemwe. Tulisema hii maneno ni?
Well, Iron Lady Karua runs into TZ Iron Wall. Anasema deported People's Liberation Party leader Martha Karua and human rights defenders Gloria Kimani and Lynn Ngugi when they were detained at Julius Nyerere International Airport in Tanzania and later deported. Na mtu akauliza, were they deported or were they denied entry?
Unajua ukiambiwa piga. Uzuri walikuwa na return ticket. Unajua deported hata utalipiwa fare. Unaambiwa kwa ndege hata usilipe, rudi kwenu.
No, that they were denied entry.
They were denied entry.
Mtu alisema we were really misusing this word, same as the way we were saying abducted na mtu maybe amekuwa arrested. Na sisi tunasema kwa abducted na arrested. Au tunasema kwa deported na maybe they were denied entry. Raila dismisses Oburu insists. Raila dismisses Oburu, insists ODM is not part of government, and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has heightened speculations of a secret card after he publicly disowned his allies, including his own brother, over the nature of his deal with President William Ruto. On Saturday, Raila publicly denied claims, including from his brother Oburu Odinga, that his ODM party was in government. Mara tuko government, mara atuko.
We'll never hear the end of that story.
Over 2.8 million shillings stare at acute starvation. Over 2.8 million shillings stare at acute starvation.
Why is it shillings? Hebu soma hiyo story subsidiary.
Over 2.8 million shillings.
The story itself is saying shillings or people?
Shillings. Stare at acute starvation. Sasa tuone. Story yenyewe inasema hivi. Some 2.8 million people in Kenya.
Yes. There's an error there. It is not shillings.
Yes,
it's 2.8 million people.
Yes. Yeah. Some 2.8 million people in Kenya face life-threatening starvation in the coming months due to depressed rainfall in late 2024, according to a new report. And the 2025 Global Report on Food Crisis attributes the worsening situation to poor rains in the last quarter of 2024, which have plunged many into deep insecurity.
Wewe editor anafikiria tu pesa. Akisikia 2 point something shillings. These are people.
All right, that's the Star, fresh, independent, different.
Ukiwa na 60 bob unajinunulia gazeti la The Star. Taifa Leo habari kuu pale, Karua afurushwa Tanzania. Na hao hawajasema amefungiwa, barabara haingii Tanzania. Lakini kiongozi wa PLP azuiliwa uwanja wa ndege na kufukuzwa asimtetee kiongozi wa upinzani Tundu Lissu kotini leo. Na Karua alienda Uganda kutetea Kiza Besije. Sasa anataka kwenda Tanzania kutetea Tundu Lissu.
Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki. Hiyo ndio sasa anaelewa hiyo nini.
Unakumbuka alipeleka kesi yake East Africa Court of Justice, you remember?
Yes.
So mambo mengi, huyu ndo anaamini mambo ya Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki. She has faith in the East African community. Yes. The rest of nyinyi mnaimba tu, actually we should take it seriously because right now in schools you sing the Kenyan national anthem and immediately after that you sing the East African community national anthem. So people are wondering, okay, kama tumefika hapo. Na nilisikia one of our MPs for Yala, Winnie Odinga, saying that they've not even been paid for how long? Because watu wengi hawa contribute to the East African community. So East Africa Legislative Assembly does not even have money to pay MPs. Nashangaa ni nini tunafanya hapa East Africa? Watu wengine wako na UTI, wengine wanapanda ndege wameenda London, alafu watu wana mchezo sana. Hawa majirani.
East Africa should be disbanded and everyone should go.
Shtuba, Karua aikemea serikali ya Tanzania chini ya Rais Samia Suluhu akisema haifai kuwanyima wakazi wa Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki haki na uhuru jinsi mwanzilishi wa taifa hilo Mwalimu Julius Nyerere alivyokusudia. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Yeah, ideally right now with just your ID. Because your passport right now is the East African passport, meaning you only require it when you're leaving East Africa. But hapa na ID una cross tu, unavuka tu, unavuka border. Mawakili hapa wa Kenya, mmoja wao aliyekuwa rais wa LSK Nelson Havi anasema uwepo wa jumuiya ya EAC una maana gani ikiwa Martha Karua ananyimwa kibali cha kuingia Tanzania? At least Uganda walimkubalia na wakakubali aende kotini. Hawa jirani usinikasirisha. Rais wa sasa wa LSK anasema ni tukio la kusikitisha sana kwa badala ya kuwapa uhuru wa kusafiri kote katika jumuiya, Mkenya anazuiliwa kwa kuwa na wakili. Udikteta kwa majirani kwa teketea. Sasa unajua kwanza hiyo ni nani anazungumza? Hii ni vidokezo, habari tofauti kabisa. Picha ya Samia Suluhu Hassan kama amevalia mavazi ya kijeshi. Anasema udikteta kwa majirani kwa teketea. Viongozi wa upinzani Uganda, Tanzania na Sudan Kusini wanaishi vizuizini. Kwenye spoti, Man City kama Arsenal watoka bure. Na watu wa Man U hawatatuachia tufanye kazi leo sababu Crystal Palace walishinda kikombe cha FA. Crystal Palace ndio mabingwa wa FA baada ya kuzaba Manchester City bao 1-0. Na Papa akemea utawala wa kiimla, masuala ya akashifu uongozi unaozua machafuko, akihimiza viongozi wanyenyekevu. Pale juu vita kati ya Orengo na Oburu. Ule ni seneta wa Siaya na gavana wake kule. Wanasema I'm in government, I'm not in government. In government, not in government. Tutashinda hapo. Na matamshi ya Gachagua ya mchongea, maafisa wa ngazi ya juu wanasema atakamatwa kwa tamshi ya uchochezi. Tunangojea. Tunangojea.
Interesting alisema is not above the law though.
Tunangojea. Tunasema hivi vitisho kwenye kurasa za mbele za magazeti yasaidii. Fanya kitu, tenda jambo.
Letu jicho tu.
Gazeti la Taifa Leo.
Business Daily. Trump's aid cuts hit Nairobi upmarket home landlords. Wanasema kwamba high income earners from the non-governmental organizations NGO sector are abandoning rental homes in Nairobi's upmarket neighborhoods, raising jitters among property owners and developers in the prime real estate segment. Business in the residential areas preferred by expatriate workers has fallen in the weeks since U.S. President Donald Trump decided to freeze aid flowing through the U.S. Agency for International Development, that is USAID, revealing the extent to which American assistance trickles into the economies of recipient countries. Lakini inaweza kuwa ni hiyo nini ya Trump kweli? Ni
kweli, because I know of a person who has two big homes. And they had rented all of them to people working for the USAID. And they were paying on average 300,000 shillings rental per month. And you know what they do? They pay like a quarter. Like for the next 4 months. So every 4 months it gets like about 3 million or something. Alafu sasa Trump akasema yo mfereji amefunga. Unajaribu kutafuta a tenant from Kenya here who can take over a house for 300,000. Oh. Hakuna kitu kama.
Sasa anafanyaje? Anapunguza rent ama nyumba inaenda hivyo inakuwa idle?
By the way, na hakuna mtu utapatia nani? Utapatia wa MP wa kawaida wenye wanakosa kulipa rent.
Ruto's top advisors bill halves to 478 million shillings after Gen Z protest, and Gen Zs will never hear the last of it. Forever to be blamed.
Wamepunguza hiyo bill to 478, that's half a million either way. It's a lot of money.
How Emirati airlines distort Kenya-UAE trade balance. Kenyan tech firms fall off top ranking of fastest growing stars, and drop in T-bill rates eases as bidders seek higher returns. That's the Business Daily.
All right. People Daily, same story from Tanzania. Suluhu goes rogue in what has sparked outrage. Tanzania deports lawyer Karua. Umesema sio deport, ni block access.
Yes.
Deports lawyer Karua, who had landed in Dar for court proceedings against detained opposition chief Tundu Lissu, testing the bounds of EAC ties. The big debate, EAC nini? Mbona tunaimba hiyo anthem? Watoto, nilisikia mtoto fulani anaimba anthem, sasa amechanganya hii ya Kenya na ya East Africa. Ajui inaanzia wapi na kuishia wapi. More stories there. We will arrest and jail you. Murkomen warns Rigiji, and state raids Moi property in Mombasa. That's the People Daily, and finally the Daily Nation.
Gachagua faces arrest, and President's allies say former Deputy President has resorted to turning his personal challenges into a national crisis. President Ruto's closest allies, the Deputy President and Interior Cabinet Secretary, sustained the messaging throughout the weekend that former DP Rigathi Gachagua is not untouchable and that he will be arrested for alleged incitement as he stepped up his blistering attacks on the government. Wako quoted pale Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen akisema, let the man continue making noise and inciting Kenyans, we will arrest him. The other day he told us that if he is impeached, there will be chaos. Was there chaos? DP Kithure Kindiki, any leader who is encouraging early electoral campaigns does not wish our country well. It is unpatriotic to put our country in a perpetual campaign mode. We've been campaigning since January. And former DP Rigathi Gachagua amesema, you cannot escape the blot of the Gen Z killings and abductions. You cannot condemn violence when your hands are dripping with the blood of Gen Zs. You cannot be speaking from both ends of your mouth. Other stories here. Why 833 million shillings will be cut from police medical cover. That story is on page 7. World news, we are trending there. Tribulations after Uganda, Tanzania now ejects Karua. And how tax relief scam has cost households. On the top strip, not ask MPs to restore 62 billion shillings slash from Education and Teachers Union protest budget cuts on administration of national exams and funding for schools. Vilevile police raid Gideon's farm. The forcible entry by police and Kenya Railways officers stalls operations. That's the Daily Nation.
Right. Tuangazie karakacha na tunaanza na Katunde. On the Daily Nation kuna majamaa wako kizimbani pale. Wanaimba, unajua wale watu wa kamiti wanakupigianga simu wanakuambia wewe tuma pesa. Sasa anasema, hello, this is the automated police recruitment system. To proceed, press 1. Sasa unajua walisema police recruitment now it will be automated. Hakuna ile ati unaenda hapo mnaambiwa andika hapa jina. It's automated. Sasa anasema that these guys could actually take advantage of that.
Unajua kuna mwingine alinipigia on Thursday.
Kwambia unaweza kuwa polisi.
You registered your line twice, which line?
Cartoon on the Standard na huyu ni Hari, wanakuanga tofauti. Kuna jamaa pale ako kwa cemetery.
Haya. The jamaa is caricatured as Wetana, ameandikwa hapo. Anasema, to be honest, we'd rather resurrect this one as the others rest in peace. Fuel subsidy, unga subsidy, kila kitu inapumzika, lakini they want to fufua the MPs parks.
MPs wanaweza, unajua MPs lazima watulize. Ndio waweze kufanya ile kazi wanafanya siku hizi. On the People Daily they talk about corruption in schools. Pale wanasema public and secondary school ni crime scene. Kuna pesa pale zinafujwa, serikali haipeleki pesa. Sasa unajua hata public schools wanasema lazima ulipe pesa ndio mtoto wako
asome. Afanye
una bribe head teacher ndio upate.
Ndio
aingie shule. That's the People Daily. And finally the Star.
Kwa heri dada. Huyo ni Rais wa Tanzania Samia Suluhu akimfungia pale PLP leader Martha Karua. Karibu TZ lakini it's blocked.
Umesema jirani ana shida nyingi lakini anataka.
She was denied entry, guys.
Denied entry.
Mbona tunasema default?
Fair alijilipia kurudi.